Kecksburg UFO incident, a thrilling journey into the unknown. On December 9, 1965, the quiet rural town of Kecksburg, Pennsylvania, had no idea that it was about to become the epicenter of one of the greatest UFO mysteries of all time. The center of one of the most puzzling and controversial UFO incidents in American history that may somehow span from the 1940 World War II German top-secret wonder weapons. This retelling of the Kecksburg UFO incident is being brought to you by Space the Final Frontier Above and Beyond, an open-minded channel, and it is for your speculative entertainment only. It began just after sunset on December 9, 1965, in the rural town of Kecksburg, Pennsylvania. The evening was calm, the kind that makes you appreciate the silence of a rural town. Then out of nowhere, the sky ignited. A massive, fiery object streaked across the heavens, leaving a trail of flames and smoke, witnessed by thousands of people across the United States and Canada. The unidentified object shot across 6 U.S. states and parts of Canada. Thousands of people looked up to see the night sky suddenly erupt into motion. A brilliant fireball, glowing orange and blue, tore across the atmosphere. But unlike a typical meteor, witnesses reported that the object slowed down, changed direction, and appeared to descend deliberately rather than burn up as if being guided. Astronomical observatories initially tried to suggest it was a meteor or bolide, but nobody was buying that explanation, and it quickly began to unravel. Eyewitnesses described the object as large, controlled, and low-flying. Many said it emitted a rumbling sound and left behind a thick trail of smoke. Reports poured in from Michigan, Ohio, New York, Ontario, and beyond. But it was Kecksburg where the object was believed to have finally come down. They described the object as an acorn-shaped craft, glowing in eerie hues of orange and blue, descending rapidly. The object didn't behave like an ordinary meteorite. It moved with purpose, twisting and changing trajectory before vanishing into the woods near Kecksburg, followed by a loud, deafening impact that rattled windows and sent a shockwave through the ground. The locals from the immediate area rushed toward the crash site, eager to see what had landed. What they found would become the stuff of legends. Little did anyone know that what they were witnessing was not just another meteorite, but the beginning of a mystery that would stretch across decades, one that would be connected to a top-secret Nazi weapon, a time-traveling experiment, and a government cover-up so deep it still sends chills down spines. The unbelievable discovery and the crash in the woods. Residents of Kecksburg reported hearing a loud impact in the nearby forest. Some described the sound as a crash followed by a dull thud, strong enough to shake the ground. Curious locals, including children who had been playing outside, rushed toward the wooded area where the object was believed to have landed. What they later claimed to see would become legend. Witnesses described seeing a metallic, acorn-shaped object, partially embedded in the forest floor. It appeared to have struck the ground at an angle, nose first, as if it had descended under control rather than crashed violently. The object was estimated to be 10 to 12 feet long, with a broad, rounded base tapering toward the top. Its surface did not resemble burned rock or twisted aircraft metal. Witnesses consistently described it as bronze or golden color, smooth and oddly reflective. The following are statements made by some of the witnesses who were unafraid to talk about what they had seen in the forest, although most of their names have been held back. One can only guess why. One local resident recalled, "It wasn't smashed up, it looked like it went straight into the ground." Most unsettling to those who saw it up close was what it didn't have. One of the witnesses stated, "No exhaust, no holes, no propellers. There was nothing that told you how it flew." Another remarked, "There were no wings, no rivets, no seams, and no obvious damage." Another man remembered, "It wasn't hot. There was no smoke, no flames, no smell. Just quiet." One of the firefighters at the scene said, "It wasn't shiny like chrome. It had more of a dull glow to it, like brushed metal." Several other witnesses reported seeing etched markings arranged in a band near the base of the craft. These symbols appeared deliberate and evenly spaced. One observer said, "They looked like hieroglyphics, not letters, not numbers, something else." Deep in the woods outside Kecksburg, volunteer firefighters, residents, and local officials expected to find a crash site. Instead, they found something intact, a solid object resting silently in the earth. Volunteer firefighter James Romansky was among those who reached the object before the area was sealed off. He later stated that he was able to get close enough to examine it directly, describing it as looking like it had fallen straight from another world. He reportedly said in later interviews, "I know what a meteor looks like, and that wasn't it." He described the object as manufactured, not broken or scattered, and unlike anything he had encountered before. He also said, "It looked like it came down in one piece and it didn't belong there." Suddenly, the military arrives in force. As the locals stood in wonder of what they were looking at, they were taken back by the sudden flash of bright lights headed straight toward them. Instantly, some kind of unidentified military men armed with automatic rifles surrounded the area and ordered everyone to leave immediately. The site was cordoned off, and those who had seen the object were warned to keep quiet. Many witnesses specifically recalled some kind of army trucks and unidentified soldiers with rifles, also saying men who didn't identify themselves but were clearly military. Others recall the sudden arrival of military personnel, moving quickly and decisively. One of the firefighters recalled, "All of a sudden, soldiers were everywhere. They told us to get out. No questions." Armed men secured the area, pushing civilians back and warning them not to speak about what they had seen. Another witness who came forward said, "We were told to forget it. Just forget the whole thing." Soon after the soldiers controlled the perimeter, a large flatbed truck arrived at the site. According to multiple accounts, something sizable was loaded onto the truck and covered with a tarp. One resident stated plainly, "They took it away, and that was it." By morning, the clearing was empty. No object, no debris, no explanation that matched what witnesses remembered. Why the silence? The sudden removal? The warnings? The lack of transparency? Why did it need to be taken away under armed guard? After all, it was only a meteor. The government's response was a maze of contradictions. The official government response as to what happened in Kecksburg was anything but clear. In fact, it became a maze of contradictions, statements that shifted, explanations that conflicted, and when questions began to focus in by the people, the records just seemed to vanish without a trace. As news of the incident spread beyond rural Pennsylvania, federal agencies moved quickly to control the narrative. NASA and the U.S. military issued a simple, dismissive explanation. There was nothing recovered. It was just a meteorite. Case closed. Well, at least on paper anyway. But for the people who lived there, that explanation rang hollow. Locals had watched the fireball descend. They had followed it into the woods. They had seen soldiers seal off the area and remove something large under armed guard. Meteorites don't require military convoys. They don't get loaded onto flatbed trucks and driven away in silence. As pressure mounted, a second explanation emerged. This time, officials suggested the object may have been a Soviet spacecraft, possibly Cosmos 96, a failed Venus probe launched by the USSR during the height of the Cold War. The implication was clear. Whatever fell wasn't extraterrestrial. It was foreign technology. But this explanation quickly began to unravel. Independent researchers and space historians pointed out that Cosmos 96 had already been tracked, and its failure had occurred earlier that same day, with debris believed to have fallen over Canada, not Pennsylvania. NORAD tracking data and orbital decay timelines simply didn't match the Kecksburg event. In other words, the satellite explanation didn't fit the facts either. Next, they tried silence. Decades would pass, but Kecksburg lingered in the background of UFO history, dismissed publicly, debated privately, until 2002, when investigative journalist Leslie Kean filed a Freedom of Information Act request seeking NASA records related to the incident. NASA's response stunned many researchers. All records related to the Kecksburg incident are missing or were destroyed. Really? This seems like this is a regular event with them. Original Apollo mission tapes lost or destroyed. No path flight logs. No internal correspondence, no analysis reports, no recovery documentation. For an agency built on data preservation, this admission raised serious concerns. How do records connected to a nationally witnessed aerial event during the Cold War simply disappear? NASA later backtracked slightly, claiming some records may have been misfiled or lost during transfers between offices. But no substantive documentation was ever produced. To skeptics, this was incompetence. To others, it looked like something else entirely. Because if nothing unusual happened, if nothing was recovered, if it was only a harmless meteor, then why the shifting explanations? Why the military presence? Why the secrecy? And why do the records vanish instead of confirming the official story? Was it a cover-up? Many believe so, but the deeper question remains unanswered. What exactly was being covered up? And who decided the truth was too dangerous to release? That question still hangs over Kecksburg, unanswered, unresolved, and very much alive. Theories as to what may have crashed that night. Number 1. An extraterrestrial spacecraft. Many believe the object was not from this world. Witness reports of the strange hieroglyphic markings, the government's rapid response, and the eerily smooth metallic surface point to something far beyond human technology at the time. Could it have been an alien probe? Was it damaged in flight and forced to land? Number 2. A classified U.S. military experiment. Another theory is that the object was an experimental U.S. aircraft or space probe. Some speculate that it could have been a re-entry vehicle from a secret space program or a failed spy satellite carrying an advanced technology prototype for anti-gravity propulsion systems. But if this were the case, why not admit it? Number 3. My favorite choice, the Die Glocke, a Nazi time machine. Perhaps the most shocking theory is that the Kecksburg object was a time-traveling Nazi device, one known as Die Glocke or the Bell. The legend of Die Glocke, a Nazi superweapon lost in time. As the Second World War drew toward its chaotic end, the Nazi regime became increasingly desperate. Conventional weapons were failing, Allied forces were closing in, and deep beneath occupied territory, in underground facilities shielded from bombing raids, rumors began to circulate of something extraordinary. A project so secret it was known only to a handful of men at the very top of the SS hierarchy. At the center of those rumors was SS General Hans Kammler. Kammler was no ordinary officer. He oversaw some of Nazi Germany's most advanced and most horrifying projects, including the V-2 rocket program, underground weapons factories, and experimental aircraft. Unlike many Nazi leaders, Kammler disappeared at the end of the war, leaving behind no confirmed body, no trial, and no official death record. According to post-war accounts and later investigative research, Kammler was allegedly supervising an ultra-classified project known as Die Glocke, German for the Bell. Descriptions of Die Glocke come primarily from post-war testimonies, leaked intelligence fragments, and later investigative works. While none are officially confirmed, the consistency of certain details has fueled decades of speculation. Die Glocke was allegedly bell-shaped, standing several meters tall, constructed from heavy metal, with a dull, silvery or bronze appearance, strange symbols or markings at the bottom of the craft, which are sometimes described as runes or glyph-like characters, housed in an underground facility, heavily guarded and isolated. Sources claimed the device was powered by a mysterious substance known as Cerium-525, a mercury-like compound said to glow violet and behave in ways that defied known physics. When activated, it allegedly caused violent electromagnetic effects, intense radiation, and the death or severe illness of nearby test subjects. The most disturbing claims suggested that Die Glocke wasn't simply an advanced propulsion system, it was allegedly designed to manipulate gravity and time itself. A weapon beyond conventional war. Some researchers believe Die Glocke was part of a broader Nazi obsession with so-called Wunderwaffen, wonder weapons, intended to reverse the course of the war. Many argue over what its true purpose may have been. Was it an early attempt at anti-gravity propulsion, an interdimensional displacement craft? Many believe it was a time-travel distortion machine that they intended to use to change world history. I feel that I must point out that if even a fraction of these claims are true, Die Glocke would represent technology far beyond anything officially acknowledged in the 1940s. It would be the ultimate wonder weapon. As the war drew to a close, Hans Kammler and the Die Glocke vanished. His entire research team was seemingly erased from history, and no trace of the device was ever recovered by Allied forces. In the aftermath, there was only silence, leaving many to speculate that Kammler had used the machine to escape, possibly crashing in December 9, 1965 Kecksburg. Another theory claims that Die Glocke vanished at the end of the war, along with SS General Hans Kammler and his entire research team. Many believe the device was quietly transferred to the United States as part of Operation Paperclip, the controversial program that absorbed Nazi scientists into American research programs. But what if Die Glocke never crossed an ocean at all? What if it crossed time? Let's compare Kecksburg and Die Glocke. Are there too many similarities to be a coincidence? The similarities are difficult to ignore. Both objects were bell-shaped. Both were marked with strange hieroglyphic-like symbols. Both appeared to involve advanced technology, rumored to include anti-gravity or even time manipulation. Both were surrounded by intense military secrecy. And in the end, both disappeared. Neither object has ever been seen again. Could it be that Die Glocke reappeared in 1965 after a time travel experiment gone wrong? Or was the Kecksburg object a Nazi relic, hidden for decades, accidentally rediscovered? To this day, no official explanation has been confirmed. The Kecksburg object, whether alien, Nazi, or military, was taken away and never seen again. Hidden away in a top-secret bunker? Studied in an underground lab? Nobody knows. Kecksburg remains one of the most chilling UFO incidents in history. Whether it was a message from another world, a glimpse into forbidden Nazi technology, or a peek into time itself, one thing is certain. Something landed that night, and the truth is still out there. You've been watching Space: The Final Frontier, Above and Beyond, an open-minded channel where we explore mysteries that don't always fit neatly into one timeline. We hope you've enjoyed this comparison of the Kecksburg UFO and the Nazi wonder weapon known as Die Glocke. When you step back and compare them side by side, the similarities are chilling. And if this story is even remotely true, the power held by whoever controls such a device is truly frightening. But then again, enter the bell, and maybe none of this exists in our timeline at all. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe in this timeline, or the next if you choose.